Nutrien, a Saskatchewan-based producer of potash, has chosen a Washington port for a new export facility for their potash. At first blush, this doesn't really make sense. Canada is the world's largest producer of potash, responsible for about 30% of the global supply. The United States doesn't really have much of a potash industry. Nutrien is based in Saskatchewan, and there have been tariffs on fertilizers from Canada going into the US, so why not build the port or invest in port infrastructure in Canada? Well, Nutrien said it had to do with a combination of factors around rail prices, taxes, regulations, and things like that, but I don't think that tells the whole story. Around the exact same time that Nutrien was announcing they were choosing the US over Canada, the Trump administration suddenly and unexpectedly decided to drop their tariffs on fertilizers, including potash. Now, I don't have any proof that these two things are connected, and they may not be, but the Trump administration has been, well, let's call it what it is, extorting companies into choosing the United States by using tariffs as a negotiation tactic. Nutrien, which ships about half of its potash to the United States, would quite happily choose the US over Canada for a port if it meant dropping tariffs on potash. Meanwhile, Ottawa is going to meet with Nutrien to try to convince them to stay, but good luck. You're competing with both the tariffs, which may or may not have had some under-the-table negotiations there to incentivize them to build in the US, and you also have the fact that the US heavily subsidizes their ports, something that Canada doesn't do to the same extent, meaning that costs are much lower. Not to mention that Canada's rail infrastructure is pathetic and extremely expensive. This is yet another example of Canada losing a multi-billion-dollar project to the United States, and whether it's because of legal extortion through tariffs or simply because the US market is much larger and more lucrative, it's not going great for Canada.